Hello, my name is the Reverend Penny Joyce, and I worship at All Saints Church when it's open, and also I'm involved in Messy Church, which I absolutely love. It's a wonderful opportunity to share the love of Jesus with people who perhaps wouldn't make it to church on Sunday at 11. It's a lovely atmosphere and lots of lovely gluing and sticking things to do, so I'm very happy to be doing that. But today I've been asked to talk about why are there inequalities in the world? Now, we believe as Christians that God made the world, and as a result, he has authority over it. And we've been placed on this earth as his stewards. And we're asked to live lives that reflect the person and value of Jesus, who was God incarnate. However, society doesn't always work to the same set of values, does it? So it's incumbent upon us to share Christian values to help break the inequalities within the world. I can hear you say, excuse me, that's rather a tall order, isn't it? But let's just reflect on May and June, because issues related to inequality have been starkly revealed. For instance, people were shocked and horrified by that act of racial aggression to George Floyd, which has renewed the Black Lives Matter. Then a 22-year-old quietly spoken footballer called Marcus Rashford. He told the government how it feels to be so poor that you can't afford food during school holidays when there are no school meals. His intervention led to a U-turn by the government, which will change the quality of lives for the underprivileged children in our towns and cities this summer. Two people, two totally different situations, but two amazing sea changes in the mindset of society and in relation to inequality. You know, inequality has been with us through generations, hasn't it? And it's usually fostered by greed, bigotry, a lust for power, and dare I say, apathy on the part of many people at many times. And often our response is that the issues are just too big for us as individuals to tackle or change. Yet we've just seen two people having a huge impact on the world's understanding of inequality. Now, I've got a bit of a personal example related to corruption and inequality and playing the system. When I was working in Sierra Leone, I was working for a charity called Mission Direct, and I lived in Freetown, an interesting place to live in. My visa ran out, and so I went along to the visa office and joined a very long line of people standing in the very hot sunshine, waiting to get their passports stamped. To my embarrassment, a man came out and took me, a white woman, past everybody waiting and into the office. The senior gentleman in charge took my passport. He opened it, put it face down on the desk, and that was it. He said he was looking into me. So I waited in this room, waited, I chatted, and I waited, and as I waited, I noticed passports coming in with a brown envelope tucked inside them. And then the passports were stamped and the brown envelopes were placed in a drawer. Well, of course, I knew what was going on, and I'm sure you could understand what was going on. So you, as a Christian, are sitting there in a bit of a dilemma, really. So I waited and chatted a bit more until finally this man said, "Do you know that your colleagues in Mission Direct, one of them said they bring us a fan, but they haven't?" And I thought, Oh, I said, as innocently as I could, "I'm sure there must have been some issues. Perhaps I'll look at it when I go back." Well, that was not what he wanted to hear, of course, or what he wanted me to do. So I looked at him and he looked at me and he gave a great sigh turned over my passport, placed a resounding stamp in it, and said I could go. Interesting, wasn't it? Their expectation and the inequality of me being a white woman, of all the issues to do with bribery. Yeah, just a little scenario. We as Christians cannot personally tackle all the world's inequalities, but we can ask God, our Father, to lay a passion on our hearts so that we can perhaps focus in on one of the many inequalities in the world and give all our heart and soul to that. An example might be the issue of the lack of clean water. I mean, we wash our hands all the time and we're told to by the government, and yet there are many countries in the world where there is not clean water, is there? And we see pictures on television of poor children having to drink foul water, really. So what could we do in a situation of inequality there? Well, we could decide to give money to Water Aid, because that's an organisation that wants to bring clean water to all countries in the world and all villages. So we could do that, give money, or we could do something like join toilet twinning. Basically, you could give Uncle Fred a toilet for Christmas. Now, not literally. What happens is that Uncle Fred receives a picture of a toilet in Africa that your gift to him has been. So he has, by receiving that gift, given a toilet. And so his toilet in his little town, wherever it is in this country, and the toilet out there, he gets a picture of it. And so a huge impact is made by that small action. And it's probably better than buying chocolates and socks, really. So put that in the pot of things we might consider doing if water is our passion. So what we have to do then is ask God to lay a passion on our hearts. It's going to be different for different people, because there are many inequalities in the world that we could be called by God to be involved in. And so we need to, of course, first of all, pray to God and ask him to show us what passions we could be used by him to change and to undertake. And of course, I know many of the ladies here at both churches are members of the Mothers' Union and do works out in other countries in that way, and God has laid that passion on them. So we need to pray to God and ask him, what does he want us to do? A small thing where in an area of inequality in the world. The passage that we read from today, or you read from today, was Matthew 25, verse 35. And that verse says, "For I was hungry and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger and you invited me in." And this is Jesus to the disciples. And they say, well, we haven't done that. I don't understand what you mean. And he said, every time you feed someone who is hungry or give a drink to a person who is desperate, or you invite a stranger in, you are doing the same to me. So that tells us that whatever we do, God can use it to his value and for his kingdom. So I pray you will enjoy the passion that God has or is going to lay on your hearts. Amen.